weekend's combustion was the very predictable result of a liberal city reliant on an immigrant population colliding with a heavy-handed MAGA migrant trawling operation looking to hit its quota of brown Pokemen. Gotta catch them all. Yes, America. This is where we started.
We got to get the criminals out first. We're going to get the criminals, the murderers, the drug dealers.
And this is where we are now.
Protests started following ICE raids at the Home Depot parking lot in Paramount, south of the city.
Home Depot? From the worst of the worst to a f***ing Home Depot? Geez, ICE, if you need assistance in arresting people, you know, those guys are looking for work, so... It's an explosive situation on the cusp of federalism versus states' rights, border control versus due process, terrifyingly militarized sweeps versus hardworking people in local communities, the United States Marines versus the Postmates guy who brought you an egg sandwich. It's going to require a deft and firm, experienced and wise. I think you know where I'm going with this. A deft touch from leadership in Washington.
Well, we're going to have troops everywhere. We're not going to let this happen to our country. They spit. That's their new thing. And when that happens, I have a little statement. They say, they spit, we hit.
Well done, Mr. Churchill. When they spit, we hit. For the love of God, someone protect Hawk Tua girl. Now, obviously, this is a bit of a change in attitude from Trump towards protecting law enforcement from his previous January 6th attitude of, they hit, we don't give a shit. So why this escalation?
Top Trump aide Stephen Miller.
Oh. What is it young Lord Vader wanted?
Stephen Miller held a meeting screaming at ICE officials to arrest more undocumented immigrants.
Yeah, that sounds like him. Although I'm pretty sure Stephen Miller wasn't screaming. I think it's just his default tone is banshee. It's what happens when oxygen molecules are desperate to exit his unholy lungs. So it just comes out like, get them!
Miller setting a new quota of 3,000 arrests per day to include more than just migrants with criminal records.
Miller reportedly asked ICE officials, hey, why aren't you at Home Depot?
And don't say because they're not bothering anybody down there, because they're bothering me. Lest you say at home, I'm sure that's an exaggeration. I'm sure Stephen Miller understands overwhelmingly that these are people and not monsters.
They released people into this nation, not people, monsters. Deport, deport, deport.
Deport, deport, deport. I'm going to guess that's what Stephen Miller shouts when he comes. Deport! 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 And then obviously to be sensitive to his partner, he has to be like, you deported too, right? And then she probably goes, yeah. And then goes into the shower and self-deports. Sorry, that's yeah. You're very kind. So now, predictably, these non-targeted, much broader deportation efforts in cities that feel very connected to the immigrant population is a tinderbox. And Trump happily lights the fuse. Peaceful protesters mixed with anarchists and vandals, pushed back by horseback and tear gas. Nothing could survive the onslaught except the attitude of teenagers. You, Dad! I mean, cops! Luckily, in the midst of all this chaos, there have been no fatalities. Well, human fatalities.
Self-driving car company Waymo said it was suspending service after at least 5 of its cars were vandalized and set on fire.
Took 5 of them before you were like, should we stop sending the Waymos? You think they were just sitting around? 4 could be a coincidence. But it was no coincidence.
It is believed that those Waymos were summoned or booked by the protesters with the intention of then getting them to the location and torching them.
My God. How dare you? How could you use Waymo's innocence and helpful spirit against the Waymo? Imagine for a moment Waymo's disappointment upon realizing it was, as Admiral Akbar might say, a trap. You got Waymo going, hello, it is my honor to take you to Hollywood and what are you doing? My God, no! I'm giving you only 1 star. No! Tell my Roomba I love her. For more on the immigration raids, we go out live to Los Angeles and our very own Jordan Klepper. Jordan! Thank you for joining us. Jordan, where do we stand right now? Where do we stand right now with the immigration raids?
Well, the Trump administration does not see these raids as an overreach. They see this as a necessary to confront one of the world's most notorious gangs.
The gangs? At home, what do they believe these people are what? Tren de Aragua?
Even worse, Casa del Depot.
That's just Home Depot in Spanish.
Si, senor, these are bad hombres.
Jordan, they're just day laborers.
Oh, well, to the uninformed, perhaps, but I've seen some of the pictures of what these folks are capable of. Gruesome depravity. You know what? If anyone at home is watching and there are children in the room, you might want to ask them to leave. But take a look at this. Disgusting.
What am I looking at? It's like a stone wall?
You're looking at what was supposed to be a Tuscan-inspired retaining wall. Does that look Tuscan-inspired to you, John?
I mean, looks fine, I guess.
John, I didn't pay these guys $40 each for fine. Look at my side patio. Oh.
All right. I mean... okay.
They're f***ing impatient, John. I mean, are you kidding me? They can't handle full sun. Look at these stairs. Does this buff sandstone look plum to you?
Jordan, I don't know what any of those words mean.
Okay. Tell me these guys aren't the worst of the worst.
Jordan, see, isn't this what the Trump administration wants? For people to conflate violent gang members with innocent day laborers who are already being exploited? I don't think anyone would be complaining about a rational system of due process getting rid of criminals. But this right now is needlessly provocative in Los Angeles.
You're right. I'm sorry. I lost my head. You know, the American guys quoted me a patio figure that just was... I'm on basic cable, John. But you're right. I can't get behind indiscriminately kicking out blameless workers, especially since I still want to put in a koi pond. But you know what? You can't expect a compassionate approach to deportation when you got a psycho like Stephen Miller in charge. I mean, that guy just gives me the willies. You know?
Jordan, don't look. But Stephen Miller is he clicking? Is Stephen Miller clicking?
Yeah, John, he's clicking, all right? He uses echolocation to hunt his prey. He found me, okay? I shouldn't have said his name. I just can't say it again or another Stephen Miller will appear. Damn it! John, it's too late for me, all right? John, tell my wife I love her. Idea to build a gazebo next to the koi pond. Oh, God, stay away from the base.
Klepper, everybody. Jordan Klepper. I'm sure he'll be fine. That was eerie. Very eerie. Now, back to the tension, turmoil, and violence coming out of Los Angeles, it's hard to watch an American city torn apart like this. And quite honestly, I was a bit surprised, but even the MAGA sphere is somber and reflective at what they're seeing in Los Angeles.
It's deeply, deeply unfortunate.
Look, I'll be honest, this really hurts my soul.
I think it's a sad thing to see.
No one wants to see this.
I hate to see it. I think America hates to see it.
Most importantly, it's going to be bad for the country.
I think it is important for us to pray, for peace.
Sorry, I'm being told that wasn't about Los Angeles. That was them heartbroken that Trump and Elon have gone no contact. That's a slightly different thing. That's true. See, for the right now, I guess that's the real national tragedy. Elon Musk has unfollowed cat turd. We must pray for peace. See, the upset in LA is in a blue state, in a blue city, with people that they don't give a about.
I'm incredibly happy with President Trump's decision.
Trump is right on target with this.
This just screams common sense.
An enormous positive for our country.
It's certainly well-deserved. There was never any consequences, and now the hammer is being dropped.
Do you want to live in Los Angeles, which is mini Mexico?
To be fair, they also have a fantastic Koreatown. But why escalate this shit now? The unrest in LA is predictable outcome of these aggressive tactics. I believe the right refers to federal overreach as don't tread on me, we the people, cold dead hands, something along those lines. So why is this happening now? What's it meant to distract from? I mean, I can't even remember. What were we even talking about right before the first Waymo went up in flames?
Elon Musk is now accusing Trump of being in the Epstein files.
Oh, right. That's what we were talking about. Which, now, to be fair to Trump, it is ridiculous. I mean, you can't just make wild accusations like that just because Trump and Epstein hung out once or twice, or Trump was in the flight logs, or Epstein called Trump his closest friend, or they went to parties and whispered, I can only assume biblical passages in each other's ear. I'm telling you, Epstein, 2 Corinthians, you got to check it out. It's f***ing awesome. It's not a crime to be in each other's hearts. And what indication has Trump ever given that there may be things within those Epstein files that may be concerning to him?
Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah. I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there.
A lot of phony stuff in there. You can put anything in a file, say anything about anybody. By the way, just for the record, asking a 17-year-old masseuse if she's planning on staying in the United States, that's a legitimate question. And the rest of the video is AI. If there's a video. My favorite moment was when the head of the FBI, Kash Patel, found out Elon accused Trump of being on the Epstein list live while podcasting.
Does he know that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files? Or does he have access to the Epstein files?
I don't know how he would, but I'm just staying out of the Trump-Elon thing. That's way outside my lane.
What the are they doing?
I know my lane, and that ain't it.
Not your lane? Aren't you literally in charge of the Epstein files? I know my lane. I'm just a guy in charge of law enforcement domestically. Conspiracies, crimes, cover-ups, Home Depot parking, overcrowding, But now, because of their personal issues, Musk has threatened to expose Trump. And Trump has threatened to cancel Musk's government contracts. And he's threatened serious consequences to Musk if Musk funds Democratic candidates. It must be hard for the right to see how petty and petulant these two man-babies are, and how they wield their power in vindictive and capricious manners when they don't get exactly their way, and the damage that behavior causes. And I guess what I would say to the right is, welcome to our f***ing world. Every day. Now you know. Harvard won't bend the knee? Attack. A law firm representing a Democrat? Attack. A long-term ally that prefers to retain its sovereignty? Attack. A small mom-and-pop business just trying to complete an $8 billion merger? Attacked. You on the right didn't give a shit when Godzilla and Mothra teamed up to destroy the city. You're only mad that now they're fighting each other. Because you just got a taste of their paper-thin, oversensitive, fragile, ego-driven nihilism, or, as you call it,
It's like watching two giants fight.
These are two titans, two very strong-willed heavyweights.
Two big dogs living in close quarters.
Two grown men that are fighting. Two alpha males duking it out.
Alpha males? I don't think we're watching the same fight. You're seeing this. It's actually this. It's just a couple of f***ing pussies. If these were two alphas fighting, Ted Cruz's description of their fight wouldn't be this funny.
These are two alpha males who are pissed off, and unfortunately, they're unloading on each other.
Deport! 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 Oh, shit! I'm telling them, not me! I'm a citizen! I'm a citizen! Leave me be!
By now, you've probably seen all the protest footage out of LA in the wake of Trump's immigration sweeps. But despite what you're seeing on the news, keep in mind that most of the protesters have come with more of a chill SoCal vibe. Dancing, playing music, and unleashing these devastating projectiles at police. So there's definitely a chance that this can all be resolved peacefully, as long as nobody escalates this thing with an unnecessary show of force. Will be A-O.
President Trump mobilizing 2,000 California National Guard troops against the will of the state's governor.
President Trump ordered the deployment of 2,000 more California National Guard troops, making for a total of 4,000.
Now making the unprecedented move of dispatching 700 active duty Marines to the streets of Los Angeles.
Yes, nothing calms down a situation like a military invasion. In fact, that was part of my birth plan. I was like, honey, I want candles, classical music, and 700 armed Marines storming the hospital room. Also drugs, lots of drugs. You know what, scratch that, just the drugs. You know, I'm beginning to wonder if Trump is intentionally trying to escalate this situation because more chaos allows him to portray blue states as centers of crime while positioning himself as a strong man that the country needs to rally around. No, that's silly. I'm sure he's just doing what's best for everyone. Although deploying soldiers in an American city could put Trump on the wrong side of the law again.
There is concern over violating the Posse Comitatus Act.
The Posse Comitatus law says that the U.S. military cannot engage in police functions on U.S. soil.
That's right, Posse Comitatus. It's a very serious legal principle. So let's hear more about this very serious legal principle.
Look, I believe strongly in Posse Comitatus.
Indeed, Trump is truly in violation of Pussy Comitatus. That's to say nothing of his violations of the Snatch Act. But in all seriousness, this is an extreme measure. The last time Pussy Comitatus was used, it was on your mom last night! Oh! Another major concern here is that Trump called up the National Guard without permission from Gavin Newsom, governor of California and man with strong opinions about the food and business class. But Newsom is hitting back.
The absurdity of this cannot be understated. There were 2,000 National Guard that were, quote unquote, deployed, of which only 315 actually were mission assigned. 1,700 have no particular role or responsibility.
This wouldn't be the first time someone went to LA looking for a role and couldn't find one. Hey, you listen to me, 1,700 troops. You keep following your dreams. You work on your craft, knock down those doors, and most importantly, do not go into porn. Do not. Don't do it. Although if you did, I've got a great title for you.
Pussy comitatus.
There it is. So, okay, Newsom is lobbing the unfathomable accusation that Trump might make decisions without fully thinking them through, but I'm sure Trump will be the bigger man here.
Earlier in the day, the president suggesting that it might be a good idea if his border czar, Tom Homan, arrested the California governor.
I would do it if I were Tom. I think it's great.
When asked what crime Newsom has committed to warrant arrest, the president responding,
I think his primary crime is running for governor because he's done such a bad job.
That's a ridiculous statement from Trump. Gavin Newsom's primary crime is obviously his podcast. And even if Newsom wasn't good at his job, being a bad governor doesn't mean you should get arrested. It means you should be mayor of New York. So while Newsom and Trump fight each other, Los Angeles is becoming a battleground for their rivalry. It's a hard story to turn away from, especially when some of these reporters are real easy on the eyes.
it is entirely possible that by the end of today, we will see nearly 5,000 combined California National Guard and Marines deployed here in Southern California.
You can see how much smoke is being deployed on the other side by the LAPD.
Oh, I'm definitely seeing a smoke show. Someone should really hose that down. Excuse me, are you with CBS? Because I'd like to watch that ass for 60 minutes. These jokes were brought to you by the female gaze. The female gaze. It's not creepy because we're girls. Basically where we're at right now. Trump's terrible policy has generated a huge backlash, which he's responded to by overreacting, which is going to generate another backlash. We don't know how this is going to end, but at least we know it'll be a huge waste of money.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth says the deployment of the state, National Guard, and Marines will cost at least $134 million. He expects the deployment to last at least 60 days.
Hello, Doge? I found some cuts for you. So, can you put your mom on the phone? Let's kick things off with meme coin entrepreneur Donald Trump, who also moonlights as President of the United States. Yesterday, he went to Fort Bragg to give a speech to his favorite men in uniform who aren't in the Village People. He was there to commemorate the 250th anniversary of the Army, so of course he ended up discussing Joe Biden.
We had a grossly unfit president. And by the way, I've known this guy for a long time. He was never the sharpest bulb.
Sharpest bulb. What a wordsmith. See, most people would have gone with brightest bulb or sharpest tool, but Donald Trump took half of both and smushed them together. That is what makes him the cream of the litter. But again, Trump wasn't there to talk about Joe Biden. He was there to talk about America's proud military history. And that went great, too.
Recently, other countries celebrated the victory of World War I. France was celebrating, really. They were all celebrating. The only one that doesn't celebrate is the USA, and we're the ones that won the war. Without us, you'd all be speaking German right now. Maybe a little Japanese thrown in.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. Why would we be speaking Japanese when they were on our side in World War I? Well, I think it's because he said World War I, but what he meant was light bulb. But Just for the record, I'd love to speak German and a little Japanese because that would help me understand like 95% of the porn I watch. Does anyone know what Eine kleine Megachode means? I don't, but I like it. But what got the most attention wasn't what Donald Trump said, but how much the troops enjoyed it.
President Trump's rally-style speech yesterday at Fort Bragg in North Carolina. He had active duty troops booing the media, booing his political opponents.
You think this crowd would have showed up for Biden? I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. And the fake news, ladies and gentlemen, look at them. Look at them all. Oh, yeah, what I have to put up with. Fake news. What I have to put up with. In Los Angeles, the governor of California, the mayor of Los Angeles.
Oh, those boos are very upsetting. And not just because they remind me of my 5th grade talent show. And looking back, I probably shouldn't have performed the entirety of Eddie Murphy's Raw. I gotta say, this is not a good look for the military. The military is supposed to be a political. That graphic is still up. I'm sorry. Oh, I gotta say, this is not a good look for the military. The military is supposed to be apolitical. They don't serve Democrats or Republicans. They protect all of us, even Jill Stein voters for some reason. But maybe the reason these troops seem so MAGA is because the non-Trumpers didn't want to be there.
According to military.com, memos from Fort Bragg reveal a tightly orchestrated effort to curate the optics of Trump's recent visit, including hand-picking soldiers for the audience based on political leanings. Other rules for troops appearing on camera included no fat soldiers.
That really sums up the 2 principles of Donald Trump, doesn't it? Number 1, total loyalty. Number 2, no fatties. Keep in mind that before Trump turned the military into his own personal MAGA cheer squad, he started the week by sending Marines into America's most bangable city. And this is all just the warm-up before the main event this weekend.
President Trump's highly anticipated military parade kicks off this Saturday.
The parade marks the Army's 250th anniversary.
Oh my God, give these troops a break already. They have to sit through your show, they have to invade Los Angeles, and now they have to parade for you? America doesn't do military parades, so why is this one so important?
The parade just so happens to also fall on President Trump's 79th birthday.
Yes, there it is. There it is. The parade just so happens to be on his birthday. But that's not why he's doing it. This parade is for the Army, and the Fudgy the Whale Cake is for the Army. But he gets to blow out the candles. So how much is the Doge president going to spend on this Army birthday extravaganza?
The total cost to taxpayers up to $45 million.
The Army said it expects minimal damage to D.C. roads from the 70-ton tanks rolling down, but they've budgeted $16 million of your dollars to repair those roads once the parade is over.
$45 million, and a third of that is just you ripping up the roads? People don't usually throw down that hard unless they're moving out the next day. Wait, is Trump moving out the next day? But hey, at least they're budgeting for the road damage in advance. Because as Donald Trump always says, a penny saved is a bird in the hand. Let's start with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Secretary of Health and the only member of Trump's cabinet to be reheated in an air fryer. Earlier this week, Kennedy abruptly fired all 17 members of the CDC's Vaccine Advisory Committee, which understandably caused a lot of concern among people who prefer not to die from an old-timey Oregon Trail disease. But RFK Jr.'s got a new batch of doctors to replace them with, so I'm sure they're all equally qualified. So let's get to know some of these vaccine experts.
Some of the picks are well-known vaccine critics, including Dr. Robert Malone.
Robert Malone, who's claimed that millions of Americans were hypnotized into taking the COVID-19 shots and has suggested those vaccines cause a form of AIDS.
I think I liked this guy a lot better when he was just selling us Dos Equis. I don't always take vaccines, but when I do, they give me AIDS. Look, this guy's obviously crazy, but you can't deny there was some hypnosis going on during the pandemic. Like, we were washing our hands every day? Like, what was that all about? But forget the Department of Health. Let's move on to the great work being done by Tulsi Gabbard, Director of National Intelligence, and the only Hawaiian who can make aloha sound like a threat. She decides which of America's secrets need to stay secret, but lately she's been getting some help.
Tulsi Gabbard, head of DNI, says the government is now using artificial intelligence to speed up its work in determining which documents can be declassified and released to the public. That includes files related to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy.
Cool. That technology we're all scared of and have no idea how dangerous it is. Let's teach it how to kill a president. What could go wrong? Also, why are you having AI read the JFK files for you? AI is for tedious things. These are the most exciting documents in the government. It's like asking AI to watch all the sex scenes in a porno so you can focus on whether the pizza got delivered. Maybe I've been using AI wrong this whole time. I thought it was for doing my kids' homework and seeing what I look like as Shrek. Wow. Stay thirsty, my friends. Let's move on to Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense and guy whose favorite cologne is roofie. He's been axing a bunch of medical research programs for veterans that he claims are boondoggles. But when Senator Dick Durbin called him out on it yesterday, he gave a specific example of waste, and it was very specific.
Give me an example of a boondoggle in medical research in defense health.
I mean, we're talking about some stuff I shouldn't say in public. You know, marbles in the rear ends of cats, tens of millions of dollars.
Sometimes I hear about science experiments and I think, God, I am so glad when I was growing up, no one was telling women they should be scientists. Really dodged a bullet there. To be fair, they were trying to find out why Garfield hates Mondays. Now they know. Now they know. Also, anyone who has cats knows that this isn't the weirdest idea ever. I mean, they are constantly showing us their buttholes. At some point, someone's going to be like, all right, let me try something. But in case you're wondering who would fund such a ridiculous study, that would be President Trump himself. In 2020, his Defense Department said it was part of a revolutionary new treatment for spinal cord injuries. And that's the thing about science. It's easy to make it sound made up and stupid. It's not airtight like the Bible. And someone who just wants to cut funding can trivialize any research because, yeah, trying to make dogs salivate by ringing a bell sounds weird, but it proved an important point that dogs love bells, I think. I don't know, I failed psych. But this is a great example of how anti-science the Trump administration is. When Pete Hegseth talks about science, he makes it sound stupid. And when RFK Jr. talks about it, he makes it sound like someone dropped a fork in the garbage disposal. Let's move on to the reason your horse's prescriptions are out of stock. Elon Musk. Last week, he got into a fight with Donald Trump that got so ugly, he claimed that Trump is in the Epstein files. The friendship seemed unsalvageable, but it turns out it wasn't quite as cyber as we thought.
The world's richest man is now apologizing to the world's most powerful man. Musk backing away from some of his online attacks, posting this apology. I regret some of my posts about President Trump last week. They went too far.
No. You cannot whoopsie-daisy your way out of saying someone's in the Epstein files. It's not like saying, sorry, I slammed the door, or sorry, I shoved marbles up your cat's butt. I mean, I'm glad he apologized because I guess it showed us exactly how long it takes for ketamine to wear off. Let's move on from the worst wing because America is having a hard time right now. The military is invading California, U.S. senators are getting manhandled by federal agents, and people are about to be thrown off their Medicaid. And President Trump is hearing everyone's concerns, and he's decided to rush to where he's needed the most, the theater.
President Donald Trump going to see a performance of Les Mis at the Kennedy Center on Wednesday.
Do you identify more with Jean Valjean or Javert?
That's a tough one, that last part of that question. That's tough. You better answer that one, honey. I don't know.
What's worse, that a reporter thought it was a good idea to ask Trump if he's the hero or the villain, or that Trump's response was, oof, that's a tough question.